Hey everyone, welcome to this week's new episode. I cannot thank you enough for taking the time to hang out on X Vlog Live. Normally this is a one-on-one show, but today, folks, we have actually we're supposed to be three people on the panel. Mr. Bed was going to join us. Unfortunately, he's having some internet issues, and I think that's got to be like a spread out thing because last night we had no internet. Thankfully, we got primetime gaming in before we had a problem, but the internet has not been so good the last. Because yesterday, and everyone knows, YouTube had a problem, Twitter had an issue, Instagram had an issue, Facebook had an issue. I don't know what's going on, but thankfully everything is back to normal now. What you folks see on the screen is one of the first topics that we're going to talk about. Michael Pachter did a monster interview regarding the ABK deal. He had a lot of things to say that were on point with our views from last night's primetime gaming. I want to let you hear the first 7 minutes of this conversation. If you want to go check it out yourself, at 8:23 is where it gets really good, and he breaks down why this deal is going to happen. He's 98% sure that this deal is going to go through, and I believe that as well. I think that they would not, and I say they, the CMA would not have offered a path to closing the deal like they did unless they wanted to actually close the deal. And I think Microsoft is going to do everything in their power to come up with a plan that is acceptable for the CMA, and then everyone will follow suit. And of course, on the back end of the conversation, folks, we are going to be talking about Hogwarts Legacy. It is a game that has not only broken WB Games sales records of all time by 4-1. It is in the top 10 in both console and PC. For me and for Steel, and we'll get Scully's opinion on it. It is currently our game of the year. It is it just Steel. This is a game that just takes you. It's a life stealer, is what it is. How you doing, brother? Welcome to the program.
Hey, boom! Glad to be back, man. Within the kingdom, and yeah, man. Speaking of Harry Potter, it's one of those worlds that even if you're not a fan of the, let's say, IP itself, but if you have any interest in wizards, witches, and just mythical beings and things like that, in a good world, in a something that you could tell that there's from the very beginning. There's been just a lot of passion, and I would definitely suggest this. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is I, Steel Rain, one of the hosts for Living Split Screen, a non-console-centric platform that goes live every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. UK time. And I'm here to provide some support for the Boom, man. And matter of fact, Boom, also that new intro you got, I meant to save something for you last couple of times I've seen it. It sticks so much. The fact that you got the boomer saying boom, it was.
I know, right? Like, I would have never thought to do that. A shout out to Sean Labrie. That dude he's done work for Dealer. He's done work for Rand. He's done work for basically everyone. And I gotta tell you, I'm the creator of the show, obviously. I paid for it, and I every time play it to this day, and I've played it I don't know how many times already since he made it for me for the show. I watch it as if I'm a fan. Like the work is just incredible, dude.
No, absolutely. And but again, got some fire topics to get into. Greatly appreciate you for having me here today, Boom. And let's get to it, man.
Yeah, I'm always glad to get you on the show, Steel, simply because you are as honest as they come, and you give your opinion, and you're not afraid to tell it like it is, and that's one of the reasons why I highly respect work that not only do you do for your personal channel, but what you do for others, and then you being here is huge. So thank you so much for that. And Skullsy TV, Mr. Bethesda himself, a monster RPG in the form of Hogwarts Legacy, is breaking sale record numbers despite the controversy leading into this. I'm going to tell you this, Skullsy. You, like myself, have a very ugly, a very distaste for bullying. We don't accept that kind of behavior. You've talked about it not only on your show, but you've been, as content creators, sometimes we get in the crosshairs of people that just want to be D-bags. And I saw some things happening in the social media world that made me very sad. Erica Cutts, if you don't know who she is, she's a phenomenal member of this community. I love the work that she does. She had put out a tweet to inform people that there was a lynch mob situation going on with anyone that streamed or even talked about Hogwarts Legacy. And I got to be honest with you, I've never seen anything quite like it. Someone made an algorithm, a search engine, Skullsy, where you can type in the name of a content creator, both on YouTube and Twitch, and it will send you to where they talked about this game, giving people an ability to, again, lynch mob you, if you will. I've never seen bullying like that. And what's scary is these people that did this are the ones always complaining about how the internet is nasty and it's treacherous, and I don't like to get bullied, and yet you are invoking a lynch mob mentality for playing a game that many people, including myself and Steel, and even you, Skullsy, really enjoy. Listen, if you don't agree with the author who created the world, his opinion, I understand that. That's perfectly fine. But Avalanche Studios has nothing to do. The work that they've done for this game, she had literally no input. She's collecting royalty checks, fine. But you cannot attack the studio and say that's your way of boycotting the game. No, that's unacceptable. Skullsy, thank you so much for joining us, dude.
Oh, I appreciate it. I'm glad to be back here. Yeah, I hate the bullying, especially when it's done under the presumptuous banner of what's supposed to be good, right?
Yes.
You can never ever take stuff like that and put it in the good category, because all you're doing is the same thing you're trying to fight against, but you're doing it on the opposite side of the fence. You know, one of my favorite sayings from my grandmother is, "You catch more flies with honey than vinegar," and that's just the thing. Educate people, boycott the game if that's what you choose to do. Stand by your own values and beliefs, but don't attack other people and assume that they're an enemy just because they're playing a game. You know, Harry Potter is larger than a lot of other franchises out there that people might have picked on. It's a big thing. It's a big universe, tons of fans, and at the end of the day, no matter what you think of J.K. Rowling and everything they've said, the developers specifically have tried to distance themselves from any negative stuff J.K. Rowling would have said. They tried to make the game more inclusive to the best that they could.
Very much.
At the end of the day, it doesn't seem like anything is good enough. And now when the boycott isn't working, they're just turning to scorched earth. And that's just not the way to go. I don't want to see that in any community. And I don't want that to happen, because then the community, the trans community, who are already attacked endlessly for just the most idiotic reasons, are now going to get attacked even more because of this. So it's like, this isn't the way to go about it at all. And it just hurts to see on all spectrums of this circumstance.
Yeah, we're going to get into it, but let's again, this is just a show that runs around 70 or 80 minutes. We're gonna get to two topics. Both are hot. We already have 200 people here. Real quick, I'll say it in the front and I'll say it on the back end. Mrs. BoomStick and I, we are a few hundred away from 12K. I don't know if we have anybody that's new visiting today. Hopefully, if you are and you want to help us get to that 12K, would be greatly appreciated. Sub the channel, hit the like button on your way in or your way out. But let's play the footage that I want you to hear regarding the CMA's findings that were posted yesterday for everyone to see and hear. This comes the way of pre-market prep on YouTube. And basically, this happened just the other day, and we're going to get into it right now. I'm going to put the play, and this is what Pachter had to say regarding his thoughts on the deal passing.
I don't take a contrarian view. I take a correct view, and it's not my fault that there are so many people who are out to lunch and don't understand how the law works. All right, so keep in mind that this deal is more than a year old. It was announced on January 17th, 2022. And so here we are on February 8th. What took a year for the UK to say, wow, it would really upset us, Microsoft, if you buy Activision and pull Call of Duty off of PlayStation. I mean, we knew that the first day. And so to answer your question specifically, what's the political import? Here's what's really going on. You've got 3 regulatory bodies that are still reviewing the deal. The EU Competition Commission, the UK Competition and Markets Authority, and the United States Federal Trade Commission. Each of them is charged under really similar legal structures with protecting consumers from unfair competition. That's what it really comes down to. So the term of art in the UK is a substantial lessening of competition. Obviously, when you have a merger and you consolidate 2 big parties, there's the potential that by consolidating the power, they'll raise price and consumers will miss out, or they'll lessen quality and consumers will lose. So that's what all 3 agencies are looking at. Fortunately for Microsoft, they have no intention of ceasing to support PlayStation. And they've said it repeatedly. They've offered to extend their existing contract for 10 years. Really? They've offered to add Nintendo to the contract, and they're not a party right now.
Nintendo.
They've offered to add Steam, which is a PC distribution service, to the contract, and they're not a party right now. So they're really bending over backwards trying to say, don't worry, we'll continue to maintain the status quo. And so what really happened is that the EU has been the most sane of the 3 agencies. And the EU has pretty consistently said, we think we can reach an accommodation. And what happened was that the FTC, led by, I believe she's 33-year-old Lena Khan. Lena Khan's been a lawyer for about half as long as I've been a video game analyst and a quarter of the time that I've been a lawyer. But Lena Khan, who knows better than all of us, that led her to realize, oh my God, somebody's going to settle. We better settle first. So in December, she filed suit. Now, the market reacted negatively. Oh, if the FTC sues, Microsoft must be a loser. No, no, no. The lawsuit is a mechanism, a device to force Microsoft to the bargaining table. So the FTC thought in December, if we sue, Microsoft will come in here, agree with us, agree to a whole bunch of concessions, and then we can run a victory lap. Look at us. We made big tech back down. We extracted the concessions. We protected the consumer. So what happened? 5 weeks later, the UK said, hold my beer. We're going to do the same thing. So they put out not only an intention to block the merger today, but a list of proposed remedies, because the FTC hasn't done that yet. So the UK said, hold my beer. We got ahead of you. And I don't even know if Lena Khan's old enough to drink beer, but we got ahead of you. We now have remedies. So we're going to reach an agreement with Microsoft before you do. And so I expect that you're going to get the EU to step right in the next couple of weeks and say, wait a minute, we've got some remedies too. What's really going on here politically, to answer your question, is the 3 agencies all know they have a slam dunk loser in court. They're going to lose. And Microsoft is a big, deep-pocketed corporation that knows it has a slam dunk winner and is prepared to stick this out as long as it takes to beat these guys into submission. So rather than litigate, and by the way, the FTC just lost a high-profile case against Facebook where, once again, they were completely wrong, but it was a tiny deal. They're not going to lose this big one. They're going to win by extracting concessions with Microsoft. So I expect that the FTC will be back in the next 2 weeks. The EU is going to accelerate to the next 2 weeks. And guess what the UK did today? They set a date for all the proposed remedies to come back to them February 22nd, 2 weeks from today. So let's talk in 2 weeks, because Microsoft's going to reach an agreement with one or more of these guys. They're all jockeying for position. They're elbowing one another to be able to claim we're the ones that made big tech kowtow to us and claim victory. And gamers are going to get Activision content on Game Pass, which is what Microsoft wants. And Sony's not going to lose anything. They're going to continue to get Call of Duty on PlayStation. So I think this deal happens. from a trading perspective, and I can't give you the prices because I'm not in front of a Bloomberg monitor, but you are. I think that investors should be right now selling puts on Activision relatively near term. I'd say summer, just to be safe, July, August, but sell puts at the money, 75, 73, wherever it's at right now. And I think those are in the pretty mid-single digit, high single-digit dollar range. Mm-hmm. So you end up owning the stock at 68. And then I would use those proceeds to buy calls probably at about the same price. You can make a net neutral trade if you wish to. If you're wrong, then you own the stock at 65 if it goes down. And this is a company that my estimate for 2023, they earned $4.25 a share. And if the deal breaks, they have $14 in cash. So if you own it at 65, you're paying about 13 times this year's earnings. And that's too cheap. So worst case, you own it at 13 times earnings. Best case, you just pocket $7 or $8. You don't have to worry about anything.
Setting up a trade as well. But wait a second, Michael, here. This deal broke on January 17th of 22, right? And here you have a big action taken by the CMA. I come from a whole family of lawyers, and my wife's family of lawyers. How is it possible?
And I went to law school, so you didn't have to. So there you go.
How is it possible? Or what do you see in the tea leaves that think that Microsoft is going to come up with a proposed remedy in only 2 weeks?
They already have.
Oh, the proposed remedy is we'll maintain the status quo on consoles. So all games that Activision releases for the next umpteen years. And you can say, as long as the PlayStation 5, which is the current console, is in production at scale, 1 million units globally sold per year, we will continue to make Call of Duty available on PlayStation 5. So that'll be maybe 10 years. It won't. They don't have to commit for PlayStation 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, because we don't even know if those things are coming out. But if they say we'll continue to support status quo, that addresses the bulk of the UK Competition Markets Authority concerns. The second piece is that the UK said you have to make Activision games available on competitive streaming services under the same terms that you allow them to be on Game Pass. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard and a massively bad legal argument, and they lose. The reason they lose, and Microsoft's going to basically say, pound sand, we're not doing that. But the reason they lose is when Disney bought Fox and when Amazon bought MGM, both of which, without objection from the UK Competition and Markets Authority, each of those companies took the content that they acquired and put it exclusively on their streaming service. So Disney doesn't put Fox movies on Netflix anymore. Never will. And Amazon's not putting James Bond on Netflix ever. It's not going to happen. So that's the status quo, completely perverted, because when you buy something, it's for your service. The precedent is that's what everybody does. No one's ever asked Netflix to take its original movies and offer it to other streaming services. So bad precedent, bad loser for the CMA. They're going to lose this issue. But if they do what Disney did and said, we're still going to put Fox movies in movie theaters, and they do, right? And we're still going to allow any service who wants to offer them on a pay-per-view basis, video on demand, the ability to do so under the same terms as everybody else, then that is fair. So I think what Microsoft will say is, if somebody comes up with a cloud streaming service and wants to charge their user $60 to play Call of Duty, we'll sell it to them. Of course they can do that. That's status quo. So again, I think the UK is getting ahead of its skis by saying cloud streaming could be a big thing someday, and we want Microsoft to offer it to everybody else. Sony has a cloud streaming service with 45 million users. That's almost double Microsoft's 25 million users. And Sony doesn't put its own content on their day and date. But suddenly the CMA is saying that Microsoft should offer Activision content to Sony day and date. Not happening. Never happened. Sony has a deal with Netflix for Sony Pictures, for Sony movies. Uncharted is on Netflix right now. not on Disney Plus, not on Amazon Prime Video. So where is this double standard that only Microsoft has to provide, free access to everybody for content? No way. Slam dunk loser in court. That's the one sticking point. I think the easy solution for Microsoft is to say, you know what, we'll set up a subsidiary in the UK. We'll hire a fully independent board of directors to run it. Activision, Blizzard, UK PLC, fully independent directors, and we will drop all of our content that we produce at Microsoft into that, Activision, into that subsidiary, and they can distribute it any way that they see fit to maximize profit. And what's the UK going to say? Which means not on Game Pass, still available PlayStation. The UK can't block that deal. And when they do that, then consumers in the UK are going to scream. How come everybody else gets to play Call of Duty on Game Pass and we don't?
Yeah.
So again, the UK position is really poorly reasoned, is a loser in court. A judge will conclude it's a loser. And let me give you the basis for my conviction. I am so certain that I'm right on this, and the FTC is so certain that they're going to lose, and the UK is certain, and the EU, they're scrambling to settle. This is really like looking at, why do district attorneys bring criminal cases and win 98% of their cases? Because they only bring the ones they're sure they're going to win. This is the one that I am sure that Microsoft's going to win. I would not be making this point. That's why I corrected your term conviction. I'm sorry, contrarian to confidence. I am 98% certain this deal happens.
All right.
All right. So as far as Sony goes, regarding this deal,
all right, so let me get to the footage. Steele, let's go to you first, brother. Again, Michael Pachter, say what you want about him, whether sometimes he's right, sometimes he's wrong. We all get it right and wrong. But what he said all made sense. Microsoft is going to do whatever they need to do to get this deal done. Specifically in that region. And I'm not sure if you guys heard, or maybe it was a little further. The percentile of what Call of Duty comes from that region is only 1/6 of all of all monies. That again, it's a lot of money, but it's not money that Microsoft would be, the deal getting done versus, hey, listen, we're just not going to put Call of Duty here. That's a possibility, but I think that the third party that publishes the game in that region and is allowed to do whatever they want with that game, distribute it how you want to distribute it. We'll just collect the check after. It sounds like again, it's one of the things that they specifically, if you read the notes from what the CMA had to say, they would accept a structural as well as other remedies. And if they came together and they combined these things, the structure will be letting someone else publish the game, and still allowing that to be paid for. Now, again, if it stays on, if it goes into Xbox Game Pass or it doesn't in that region, well, then the UK is going to have to explain to their customers why the rest of the world is playing Call of Duty for $15 a month, and now we have to pay 70 or 85 pounds. So I still think the deal gets done. I think everybody wants to be able to say to big tech, we made you bend the knee, but we let we got our pound of flesh, if you will. What are your thoughts on this, man?
For me, it seems like a lot of it hasn't necessarily changed, at least on my opinion of the matter, right? No matter, a lot of the news has kind of come out where people are kind of swaying back and forth now in conversation, don't know what side of the fence they want to kind of stick it on. I think a lot of what's going on currently is backing up my thoughts that if it's not, at least in gaming currently, if it's not Sony leading the charge, then there's going to be an issue with what's going on. Now, it'd also be ignorant for me to leave that and not say, oh, well, Microsoft is one of the biggest tech companies, is the biggest tech company here. And they do have a lot of sway within government, a lot of other spaces to make things or try to make things more monopolized, I guess you could say. But again, even if you want to just use that as history, because that's what they're known for. And let's be honest, guys, it's like we're going almost 3 decades back, where that situation was an issue, to where now they're being so much more forthright. Microsoft has consistently tried to do things more towards the face of the consumer to look good to the consumer, regardless of what's going on behind the scenes, because no, Microsoft isn't perfect either. And that could be some of the other worries that these governing bodies may have too. It's like, hey, well, we know what you guys are trying to do, but we're scared for the future. And I think this also just doubles down on, well, if you're scared for the future, I thought you could come back to this deal later. I thought that was the whole point why we've kind of been talking about this partially, is that, hey, well, if you're supposed to be looking out for the consumer and you're worried about what's going on right now, well, right now, there's only one other competitor that you're even trying to classify, and that competitor has much more than 70% of the market and has had that market for a long time. And if that's the status quo, then is that truly competition? Again, it goes hand in hand. It kind of doubles over itself a lot of the time. It almost seems like we're talking in an infinite loop, right? It's just
like we're running in circles here, because to your point, to your point, Steele, is it hard as for you or anyone else that wants to go and see the market share for Sony in that region? No, it's easy as easy as a Google search.
Right.
And what you said about 70%, folks, look, I get uppity about this, not because I'm getting anything from Microsoft. They barely know who the hell I am. But I'm a right and wrong kind of a guy. What's right is right. What's wrong is wrong. There is no gray area. That's it. It is what it is. And by pure definition, Steele, anything 70% or more is considered a monopoly. That's a fact, folks.
It's been that way for
and it's been decades. How long? There you go, for decades. But please continue, Steele.
And that's the main thing that always that pulls me back into the conversation, because what I've always wanted as a gamer is there to be more competition, right? I am excited for a Game Pass because PlayStation forced Xbox to do something different, because traditional selling people games was not enough. It wasn't working for Xbox, who was still technically seen as the little brother of the gaming industry, regardless of how big of a tech industry. Again, that's why I try to keep the conversation more so on the gaming side of things, because when you involve other parts of business, it kind of stops dead in its track, because PlayStation is involved in very different types of business outside of gaming, and gaming is the number one thing that has kind of left them thriving and left them in the eye of the consumer, or in the more so the mind of the consumer. Again, we talk about mind share for all this time, and again, they are a hardware manufacturer and have been since they've come into the industry. So it only makes sense that they try to continuously fight things the way they have, because Sony also, if you have guys who haven't watched the Power On documentary about Xbox, Sony was trying to make their way to the living room the same way that Microsoft was trying to put Office in the living room. And Sony succeeded. And they've taken off since then. It's just, for me, I want there to be more even competition, and we just have not gotten that this entire time. And now that, Microsoft wants to go spend some money, because that's what it always goes back to. Hey, well, Microsoft's just spending money. Well, they have to. You can't beat the company that's holding the monopoly right now if you're not willing to spend money. And they haven't spent the money until 2017, and now it's a problem. It's just, it definitely is turning into a could be possible big bank take little bank scenario. If really it needs to be, I don't see them having to back out of the deal like some people are kind of fear mongering. The deal's done, they're gonna close it up, and there's no point to go forward. And I know people are tired of talking about this, but guys, like, let's be honest with each other. Look at the industry still currently. Even with Activision Blizzard, it has been proven that Microsoft would still be number 3. Why is that a problem? And again, if you're going to tell me because of what the future has in store, that's why they're making concessions. That's why they can go back to it in the future if it's a problem. That's why those governing bodies exist in the first place. And that's why it's always confusing to me when I see people just fear-monger the topic and make it seem like, oh, well, Xbox is trash and they should just kick Activision Blizzard to the curb, ignoring the human element of the thousands of people that are also coming on. Because, again, I know we just talked about letting go 10,000 people, but let's talk about the 10,000 people that are coming in.
Yeah.
And who is going to have jobs.
Yeah.
So,
and because of this, Steele, there's going to be something done for gaming that has never been done in the history. And that is allow for unionization.
Yeah.
Never done. So
exactly.
and that's Microsoft allowing something to happen in the tech industry that has never happened. Scalzi, let's get your opinion on this. This was, again, Michael Pachter, like all of us, sometimes he gets it right. Sometimes his opinions I don't agree with. But I got to say, I did like this interview. I like the way he painted the picture. Shout out to Web Dave, who dropped a comment in here moments ago. He says, Mr. BoomStick, this is a great episode. That video helps explain what's going on with the deal, and we know it's going through. Hell yeah. And I'll get to the super chats in a second. But Scalzi, hearing how Michael Pachter framed it, it did seem more digestible for folks that maybe not are not in the business that we're in, that are reading these contracts or these objections and have been in part of this since it was announced on the 17th of January of last year. What are your thoughts on the deal actually going through based on what Michael Pachter just had to say?
Yeah, so Steel Rain brought up a lot of excellent points that I agree with. For the longest time, I believe this deal is going to go through because if you look at it, for all the points that Steele brought up and a lot of the other talking points that have been brought up, it's not a step in the direction of non-equality for consumers. If anything, it's trying to make things more equal and more stable so that Microsoft actually has a bigger piece of this gaming industry that they've been trying to pick at for a long time now. Sony, I mean, it's business, right? So exclusives are good for business, and that's why Sony has been pushing for that. I understand. I'm not going to fault them for that. I've been a Sony fan for a while too. I actually owned a PlayStation before I owned the original Xbox. But at the end of the day, the way I see it is these government entities should be looking at things. They should be looking at the facts, right? They need to have their data sheet. They need to be measuring actual facts and data and making decisions based on this. But the one thing that just grinds my gears is somehow, again, ego has infiltrated this and is now one of the prime determining factors of this decision. And it annoys me every time I see this, every time I hear about something like this, because now instead of them actually sitting down, coming up with the best decision for consumers, the best decision for these major companies and corporations, now it's a race to who can get Microsoft to bend the knee first, who can win, which government entity is going to take the trophy from this. And it's like, why is that even possible? I feel like we need to have another government entity to handle the FTC and the CMA and to make sure they're actually doing their jobs as they are supposed to on paper and not so they can get some kind of victory lap. That's not how things are supposed to be. When you start making decisions based on ego, when you start trying to have a race, it just clouds the water. Decisions that should have been made won't be made, and it's just a mess. And on top of all this, now we have both vocal minorities or majorities from both sides, from Sony and Microsoft, who are now drawing swords on one another, back and forth over this deal. A new talking point will come up, and one side will use it as a reason to start arguing and start being hostile again. At the end of the day, I just want everything to legally be how it should. If Microsoft is legally allowed to do this, which by all information that we have now they should be able to, then why is it a problem? Why is it an issue? I just don't understand it. And another thing I want to bring up is I'm sure that a lot of the people in the CMA and stuff probably aren't as ingrained in the knowledge, the inner workings of the gaming industry. Well, too bad. Figure it out. Do some research. Take a month, take a week, sit down, watch some videos, read some books. Like the law states, ignorance of the law is not an excuse. So ignorance of how stuff works is not an excuse for you to make bad decisions. Take the time, figure it out, do the right thing, and not the ego-based, let's be the first to make Big Daddy Microsoft bend the knees so that way we can look good. It's annoying to watch because somehow, no matter what industry, no matter what debate, ego always somehow takes center stage. And I'm fully confident this deal is going to go through. Microsoft has been very, very vocal about how they're not trying to take Call of Duty completely away. As Michael Pachter says, they're trying to make concessions. They're trying to make things equal, but you barely hear about that. You know, a lot of people don't want to report on that. They'd rather report on how Microsoft is trying to make a monopoly, which just isn't true. And, you know, I hope that things will get better, but ultimately, at the end of the day, what's probably going to happen is Microsoft is probably going to have to make some extra concessions that they didn't want to make originally because of someone's ego in charge of one of these companies. But at the end of the day, the deal is going to go through, and it's good that it goes through because Activision Blizzard needs this. They've been having so many issues with management. There's been a lot of abuses going on in those workplaces. So for Microsoft to pick this corporation up and to try to fix it and to try to make it not only better for consumers, but for the actual developers and employees at ABK, it's a win-win. The only way it's not a win-win is if you are a diehard anti-Microsoft person. Right. And that's basically it. And yeah, Michael Pachter, he's right about this stuff. He's may have been wrong about some of his game analyst stuff in the past. He said that the Elder Scrolls 6 would come out before Starfield, even though Microsoft specifically said that's not how it would work. So when it comes to his game analyst stuff, but this he's definitely 100% right about, and he did a good job trying to explain it for the general gaming consumer.
Yeah, no, I agree. And real quick, I just put the YouTube channel itself. He's sitting at 1.42, 1,420 subs. So if you want to follow this dude, and I'm following him now on YouTube, his link is there. The name of the channel is, let me just get that for you right here, is Prep Market, Pre-Market Prep is what it's called. So again, this interview, from start to finish, as well as the YouTube channel, are going to be in the show notes. If you want to subscribe, by all means subscribe. And if you want to watch the interview yourself at your earliest, at your convenience from start to finish, you'll be able to find it right there. Real quick, folks, I'm all into, listen, I don't shy away from the fact that I'm retired New York City police officer. It's a job I wanted to do ever since I was playing with my G.I. Joes. Honestly, really, that's where my love of law enforcement came from, is G.I. Joe, right? A real American hero. And for me, and with any police officer, if you're going to arrest someone, you must have evidence. So that's why when I do these shows, I always over-prepare, because I have gotten it wrong, and I will come out and say, hey, listen, I got it wrong. I'm not embarrassed to be wrong. If you're wrong, there are two things. You just made a mistake, and that happens, or you didn't prepare. And for me, sometimes it's just I made a mistake on what I said, because I over-prepare for these shows. And I bring all of that up to simply say, let's talk numbers, right? Like, you can argue your opinion on one entity versus the other and which one you like more, right? Opinions are great. I love opinions. I love different opinions. If I have three people on this show and everyone has a different opinion, I love that show even more, because everyone is talking how they want to say what they want to say. Let's just look back at what Sony did versus what Xbox did in 2022. And if this does not put the nail in the final nail in the coffin for you believing that Sony is, in fact, the world market leader, PlayStation is the world market leader, take a look at these numbers. Now, I pulled this, and I want to get his name correctly, because I got to give credit where credit is due. His name is Derek Strickland. On Twitter, it's Deke Tweak. At Deke Tweak, if you want to follow him. He obviously is he works over at Tweakstown. He's part of their PR department. This is what he put out there the other day on Twitter, just for reference of what we're talking about. The numbers, folks, the monies. PlayStation in 2022 made $24.410 billion. Almost $25 billion for PlayStation in 2022. Xbox made almost 16 billion, 15,563,000,000 to be exact. Now, I'm no mathematician, folks, okay? But that's nearly $8 billion more than Xbox. If that does not scream market leader or worldwide market leader, then I don't know what else does. I don't know. I can tell you that Nintendo made more money than Xbox. Where did they put Xbox, folks? Third place. Does this deal hurt competition? No, it does not. Is Sony going to lose access to Call of Duty? Are they going to lose parity? Is there going to be a worse version like they have done to Xbox? No. So I think that this deal does get done. And if you want some additional thoughts and theories, go check out last night's Primetime Gaming. We had Luke Steele, who has worked with and against the CMA on for the entire show. And we had the whole show was dedicated to what was announced, and everyone had some really great and big opinions, big thoughts. So if you missed that last night, go to my YouTube channel, Double Barrel Gaming, and check that out. But guys, we got to get into the second half of the show, and we're talking Hogwarts because, well, why the H not? Now, Hogwarts Legacy is a game that was made by Avalanche Studios. It was published by WB Games. WB Games obviously licenses out the Hogwarts or Harry Potter IP. But leading up to this, guys, there was some monster controversy with the author, J.K. Rowling. And I pulled a story from Axios Gaming. Oh, pardon, my thing went very high for a second. Hold on. Axios Gaming, and they shrunk down what the controversy was about. And according to the story, which I have in front of me, the issues at hand here are due to some statements regarding the transgender community that sent the internet ablaze. Okay. And again, I'm going to read verbatim from the story so I don't get it wrong. The Harry Potter author has been accused of transphobia. She denies it. Since 2018, this is when this whole thing started. Apparently, according to the article, she liked a tweet that said that trans women are men in dresses. And this comes the way of perpolitico.com. She said it was for research purposes. Among her other many comments on gender since then, she has mocked the idea that the phrase people who menstruate could refer to anything other than women. Now, whether you agree or you disagree, I that's fine. But we are here to talk about video games. So I only bring that up for context, not because we're going to talk about it. We'll talk about the game because someone dropped something in the chat here before. I don't remember who it was because the chat is going so fast about the numbers on Twitch that was being streamed. I don't remember who it is. Do me a favor, whoever it was, please repost that in the chat, and I will read. I'll give you a shout out, obviously, but I want to read those numbers because, quite frankly, the numbers, Steele, are unbelievable. And look, I have to say from the offset here, it has been confirmed that Avalanche Studios had zero input from the author, J.K. Rowling, regarding Hogwarts Legacy. Yes, it is a part of the Wizarding World. Yes, it is a part of the franchise that she created. But I'm going to say this, to suggest that anyone playing this game and enjoying it, anyone streaming this should somehow be attacked because they're enjoying a video game, you need to go sit down on the couch. I'm going to tell you that right now. Straight up, go talk to somebody because you are wasting brain cells. I'm going to tell you that right now. The minute I heard this bullying thing started happening, it made me sick to my stomach. Go outside, touch grass, go, recycle, help the planet, live a couple more centuries, do something constructive. Attacking people for playing a video game is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, especially when it has been confirmed by the studio, it's been confirmed by WB Games, the publisher, that she has literally nothing to do with what they created. Stop it. So, with that said, that out of the way, we got to get into the game. I'm gushing. I am gushing over this game because, like I was talking to the guys in the green room, for me personally, the vibe that I am feeling as a gamer is exactly how I felt with Elden Ring in 2022. I'm playing a game, and when I'm not playing the game, I'm thinking about the game. And that's how you know the game has its hooks in me, at least for me personally. Even more so that I was up to 2:30 in the morning the other day playing. I started it before 12, and I looked at the clock and I was like, holy shit, where did almost 3 hours go? Like, what are you? I don't even, and that's the crazy thing. I didn't want to shut it off. I literally had to force myself to shut it off. And when I went into the room, I got this stink eye from Mrs. Boom. She's like, you said you were going to be a half an hour. I knew you were not going to be half an hour. So she was right. Steel, this game does so many things right. And I'm sorry, folks, that you're seeing Marvel vs. Capcom footage because I was so in tune to the game. I literally forgot to hit the record button to record footage. I do that all the time. And I just want to punch myself in the face. So I will have some footage. I'll be recording tonight. Steel, let's talk Hogwarts. This game is a conundrum because by all rights, it should not be this good. It had every chance to be a poor rendition of the Wizarding World, and somehow or another, they have invoked, and I say they, Avalanche Studios, everything that we love about video games. Graphics, story, character design, world design, fighting mechanics. It is a love letter to, if you are a fan, if you grew up on the books, if you grew up on the films, this game is an absolute love letter to everything that made those things something that you treasure as a fan. Let's talk about it, brother.
Yeah, man. So Hogwarts Legacy. I have about probably about 20 hours in.
Me too.
I'm also playing on the hardest difficulty. And I say these things. And I'll also mention that I'm not a eccentric fan. I'm not an obsessed fan. But I am a fan to the aspect of I've read every single book of Harry Potter from release. It was part of my childhood. I see the biggest way that I can display it for people is how people feel about Star Wars, Star Trek, those types of things that came out during those generations. That's what Harry Potter was for me. Now I don't like every movie, and I think it falls off after about the third movie and whatnot. But I loved every single book, and I loved everything about the worlds that presented. And again, this is another great example of a game coming out and it completely just being a game, completely enveloping you in the world from the very beginning to give you an understanding of what you're a part of. They did really well with separating themselves out, saying, hey, we're about 100 years removed. So as much as it may be somewhat familiar to me as someone who's visibly seen it through movies or even use my imagination to put it together from what I've seen in the books, when you see it in game, it literally I cannot tell you how many times I spent walking around the castle. Like, boom. I don't like the first 5 hours of the game. I was just walking through the castle, unlocking stuff, moving around, trying to figure things out, just getting completely lost in the depth of what the game is presenting to you. The other thing too that is so unique, not necessarily unique, but again, just shows the level of passion and the effort that was put into it, is that the game is extremely accessible also. As far as like how the quest structure is, how the game kind of guides you through certain avenues, it doesn't really shame you too much on exploring. Now, if you're in the middle of a mission or something, you're supposed to be in a class, or you can't go outside to go or do whatever else. But the way that it's set up, it's done so beautifully and done so well that it feels like, hey, if you need a hand, hey, just select a mission. There's a little guide for you. We'll take you right there. Look on the map. You're good to go. Hey, you walk out into this space. Oh, there's more missions. There's side quests, and there's people to talk to. At least on PC, because that's the other aspect that I want to speak on also. Where I may, and you can let me know if you felt the same thing, Boom, but constantly when I'm moving around the castle, especially during the daytime, and I make this distinction for a reason. During the daytime, it's extremely busy. There's things going on. People are over the place. Everybody's moving. And I know you can take it as a nitpick. Some people might nitpick, oh, well, you can't bump into everybody. And not everybody has their personal conversation. Oh, you hear the same things over and over. You do it some aspects and you don't. Like, there's this perfect blend of, hey, sometimes when you walk into an NPC, you want to be able to just go through them, right? And it doesn't need to take away from you trying to get up some stairs. And understand we want everything to be uber realistic, but there's a certain magic to it that doesn't really detract. But you sense this life during the day in the castle, and then when you are in the castle at night, or you just as the daytime changes and you see people it gets really clear, then you feel like you're by yourself trying to figure out this labyrinth that you're in the castle is dynamic on its own. It took me about 10 hours for me to even get to my first broomstick. I don't know when you're supposed to get to that, but literally I just started flying around, and
I haven't gotten there yet. I'm almost 20 hours in and I have not gotten there yet.
To think, I didn't think the game could have got any better as far as, the other thing too is I know a lot of people were like, oh, well, you're going to have to be in class. You're going to have to do all these things and it's going to be real tedious. It's not. It all makes sense and it all flows. And it's like you file, even to the filing out of class, it all just feels natural, but it also feels like there's so much more to be seen somewhere. And then if you choose a direction, you can go that way. Man, there are so many great things that I can say about this game, and I don't want to get into it too much because I'll end up saying things that I probably don't want to say or whatever the case. And then the fact that they even took the care to let you be able to be completely customizable from the beginning.
Yes.
The characters, there's a lot of character presets that they give you and everything, and I do wish it was a little bit more customizable, but it's fine for what it is. There is something, to me at least, because I'm huge on customization, where you just give me transmog up front, where I'm literally allowed, no matter what piece of gear that I get, I can literally change it into whatever style that I want to look, completely representing my personal wizard throughout this Hogwarts legacy that I'm experiencing. No pun intended. But it's a beautiful experience thus far. Again, only being about maybe 20 hours in. So far it's my game of the year, and it's only getting if the game continues to get progressively better. And again, I have to still be in the beginning of the game, right? I know a lot of people may like, oh, it's me, I heard it was a little short. You can easily not mainstay this campaign, this story mode that they're giving you. And the only detractor for me is, well, one, I'm excited to see if they end up making a second game, because that's going to be crazy. But two, the possibilities to add on a multiplayer aspect to this is completely endless. And I see it in everything that you do and everything. But it's a wonderful game. I can't recommend it enough. Again, that's kind of my thoughts on it. It's something that from the first hour of the game. And again, if that doesn't do it for you, I don't know what will. But in the first hour, once you see that title screen, Hogwarts Legacy, the kid within me, my younger self, would have been beyond the moon and back, man. I can't paint it any other way.
Well, I mean, listen, dude, that's you. I don't think I could have framed it any better. To your point, the customization is insane. Now, I wish, like, for my character, like, I have a mohawk in real life, right? On the design app, I was able to do like a mohawk. I couldn't do it in the game, so I was a little disappointed with that. But I got to tell you, one of the things that they do, and I found this out by, I was telling the guys right in the room right before we went live. When you find your gear, right, you put it on, and some of it looks cool, right? You're like, oh, it looks really good. Some of it looks just ridiculous. You're like, my God, I was rocking these dragon speckles that made me look like just an insane person, and I'm like, man, I really hate them, but the gear is so good, I can't put regular glasses on. So accidentally, I pressed the X button on a piece of gear, and it brought me to this other screen. And I said, "What did I do? Wait, hold on a sec. Oh my God, I can make them look like regular glasses, or it even gives you the ability to hide the gear off of your character. So, like, for instance, I have like this I have a witch hat that's incredibly powerful. I don't want to rock a witch hat. I'm sorry, I just don't. And it allows you to not only change the style, like I can get like, a cap, or I can just take it off my head, but it's there. It's those little things that make this game unbelievable. And like I said, I am literally, and Hargeet Chani's in the chat. Hold on. He's in love with the game also. In fact, you know what? Speaking of super chats, let me just catch up with some of them. We had this first super chat today comes the way of Duty Paid. What's going on, brother? Thanks so much for the very generous £2 super chat. And he says, hey, Boom and panel. Salute, my brother. Thank you so much for being here. We also have another super chat that came in from Kay Asante. And he says this, folks, and he's not wrong. Volkswagen was invented by Hitler, which it was. It's like saying anyone driving that car today is a Nazi. Make that make sense. Thank you. That is phenomenal. Kingfish 737, who's been a channel member for 12 months. Thank you so much for that. He says, hello, Boom and panel. I'm thankful for you and the panel. Hold on a sec. Giving us a breakdown on the Microsoft deal and all things gaming. Hashtag gaming is for everyone. Thank you so much for the support, brother, and thank you for the comment. And Hargeet Chani, who was a part of the conversation last night on Primetime Gaming, well, he says 2 Game of the Year games are ready. Hi-Fi Rush and Hogwarts, and the year is just beginning. Still have Zelda, Starfield. 2023 is starting awesome. And you know what? Here's the thing. Real quick, I know this is an Xbox show, but I would be remiss if I didn't bring this up to your attention. I did it this morning. It works. Go to Nintendo.com. Type in the words game voucher. Okay? A screen is going to pop up for you. Okay? And it's going to say, for $100, you can pre-order any 2 of the games. One of those games is Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. 2 games for $100, any 2 games. I got Pikmin 4 and I got Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is the first $70 game for Nintendo. You can get it for $50 if you buy the voucher. You don't have to use the voucher today. You can buy it, save it, you can gift it, whatever you want to do. $100 for 2 games, and one of them is you're able to pick Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. You're getting it for $20 off. It's Nintendo's first $70 game, and it's going to be massive. So definitely go and check that out. But Skullsy, Mr. RPG, Mr. Bethesda, I'm interested to get your opinion on this, because if there's one thing that I can take away from Hogwarts, in my short time. And I say short because I'm about 20 hours in. I just, my problem, guys and gals, is like I was explaining to Sculzy and Steel Rain. My microphone in front of me is my starting point if I'm in Hogwarts. And I see the light in front of me, my camera light, and it's right there, and it's a straight path. My problem is that as I'm walking towards that light, something grabs my attention to the left, and then something grabs my attention to the right, and I find a story beat that's a side mission because there are so many side missions that you can do. I just did one where a little troll had his carts stolen from him. He was jacked, and it was an encampment of other like really bad trolls, and I had to get in there and unlock the gates so that the magical carts could get back to him. And the first time I did it, I got my ass handed to me because they are very powerful and I am not. And I said, okay, I'm going to come at this. I snuck in the back way. I jumped off a rock, jumped into the place, opened up the gate, and the carts went. And I got all the achievement. I mean, the RPG points to level up my character, and it was fantastic. It's those kind of things, Sculzy, that we are normally used to in Bethesda games, right? Like, the greatest draw for any Bethesda game is not the main mission. It is all of the side stuff that you can do that you can find. So, Sculzy, you might find something that I'll never see. And that's the same thing with Hogwarts. It is, at its core, the purest of pure RPGs. This is a life stealer, Sculzy. Let's get your thoughts on this. Where do you fall on what? Because Steel Rain knocked it out of the park. I mean, knocked it out of the park. What are your thoughts on so far of what you played?
Yeah, so easily game of the year for me, and until Starfield comes out. But no, you hit it right in the head. It's got those Bethesda vibes to where you almost can't focus on the main quest. You feel like you're doing a game a disservice if you do, because wherever you go, there's a conversation, there's something interesting down the hall you want to go check out. I haven't had too much time to check it out yet. I'm only about 5 hours in, and I picked it up to try it out and see how it is. And now I want to restart it because it's one of those games that's so immersive that it just draws you into it, and you just want to be in this world for the rest of your waking hours, basically. So I'm probably going to restart it so I could activate immersion mode. And the thing is, might be a little bit of a surprise to some people. I like Harry Potter, but I've never been a huge fan of it. And that's not because I don't like it. It's because during that time I was heavily engrossed in D&D, and I was reading D&D books and everything else. So something else took my priority, my attention at the time. But now this game makes me want to get more interested in the universe. A game like this is something I've been wanting for a long time. A wizard RPG where you're in an academy. My wife and I, we've played Stardew Valley before, which it might be silly, but I like the game. It's fun. It's chill.
Game is fun, man.
It's a really chill game. And there's a game like Stardew that was going to come out that took place in a wizard academy. So I was looking forward to that game just because of that whole premise, right? This game takes that premise and expands upon it, and it's the wizard RPG where you create your own character. You go to this academy. It's got bully vibes. It's got Elden Ring vibes. It's got Bethesda vibes. It's got so much going for it, and I never saw it coming. I didn't think the game would be bad. You know what I mean? I didn't think it would flop, but man, I couldn't have predicted it would have been as good as this game is. And it's just such a life stealer, like you guys have said, that this game is probably going to be something people are talking about for a long time, and it's just the beginning. Because as Steel Rain, I believe you said, multiplayer in this would work great as well in the sequel. This is the foundation of a new system that I just want to see how it goes, and I'm happy to see the negativity isn't destroying it. You know what I mean? Because it deserves the attention. The developers gave it plenty of love, lots of blood, sweat, and tears into this to create such a moving, immersive experience. And I'm just so excited to see how well that it's doing, despite all the outside negative connotations. But no, I love the game. I'm going to restart it because it deserves my full immersion mode activation for this. And I just can't wait to jump into it. Even like I played it a couple of days ago, and since then I've just been thinking about it because I've been busy with doing some work stuff. So I'm invested. It's great, definite contender for Game of the Year, and I can't wait to see just who walks away with that title this year, because we've got Hogwarts, we have Starfield, we Hi-Fi Rush. There's so many great games in 2023. It's only February. It's barely February. The year is just beginning, and it feels like we're on the precipice of a golden age for gaming, and Hogwarts is right there leading the charge. So I agree with what everyone's saying. It's definitely a good game. I highly recommend you all pick it up, even if you're not a fan of Harry Potter, because like I said, I wasn't a huge Harry Potter fan. I love the movies and everything, but I just didn't invest myself into the universe. I might now, just because of this game.
Yeah, no, listen, real quick, I got to shout out Benji Sales, good friend of this program, great friend of the community. He just posted this a couple hours ago. Hogwarts Legacy just hit 1 million concurrent live viewers on Twitch. And the game is not even officially out. It's out for people who bought the deluxe edition. It is not out for someone that's just going to buy the regular edition. That is bonkers. The numbers that have gone into this, again, it is the highest selling WB published game ever, dude. I mean, I'm trying to find the story from Benji Sales because he reported it. Okay, yeah, here we go. Hogwarts Legacy Early Access has passed an all-time Steam peak and has beaten out Fallout 4. FYI, Hogwarts Legacy is now the number 2 highest selling peak in history for a paid single player only game. The only thing that's ahead of it is Elden Ring, and it's only slightly behind Cyberpunk. That is bonkers. I mean, look, what could you say? You heard us all, get excited about the game. Let me just catch up on some of the super chats. I did miss one from Drawn TJ. He dropped a very generous $2 super chat and says, "Good morning, Boom and panel." Good morning to you as well. He dropped a second $5 super chat and says, "You missed my super chat. I said hi, Boom, and the panel. Hogwarts Legacy is a 9 for him." And Kirby Zero Louise, good friend of the program, drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "Hogwarts Legacy is the closest thing there will be to a zero Tuscama game I might ever get. Looking forward to it." I don't know what that word actually means, but I'm probably saying it wrong. But listen, dude, thank you so much for the $5 super chat, and I'm glad you're gonna enjoy it. I think everyone is. If you are, I put it to this way. You Scully, you made my heart beat faster because you said the words D&D. And for me, D&D was a big part of my life growing up. My character's name was Achilles Savage, and that is my character's name right now in Hogwarts. I've kept that character close to the vest. Achilles Savage has been since D&D days, and this is as pure an RPG as you could possibly want in your current life. I don't know how the F we're going to make a top 10. I have no freaking idea how we're going to, and I mean as a community, pick a game of the year. Like I think that again, we all keep talking about 2007 being the pinnacle year in gaming for new and fresh IP. You got Mass Effect, you got Halo 3 in the OG, you got BioShock, you got Uncharted. It just was crazy how amazing 2007 was. And I'm really thinking next week you got Atomic Heart, folks. That game looks bonkers good. Oh my God. You know what the problem is? Forget the fact that I stream 5 days a week. Forget the fact that I have to maintain my household with Mrs. Boom. And I have to make time for her, and we have her, we watch our movies at night. Even without all of that, where the hell would you find the time to play all these games? It's my backlog is growing and growing, and it's scary. Look, Metroid Prime Remake is out,
It looks
and I'm
really
not
dope.
freaking playing it. Like, oh my God, what is happening? All I can say, folks, is that right now gaming is at the best place we could possibly imagine. And like Scalzi just said, we just started February. It's crazy. But look, this is meant to be a 70-minute show. We had over 400 people show up. We hit 2 major milestone topics. I want to thank everyone that tuned in. If you're finding the channel for the first time, please consider subscribing. We are a few hundred away from 12K. Love to hit that by the end of the month. The goal for us this year is to hit 15 by the end of 2023. Yes, it's a lofty goal. Do I think we're going to get it? I hope so. I sure do. Again, I stream 5 days a week, 5 different panels, 5 different shows, all great content, all great conversations, and we don't use hate to generate clicks. That is the biggest thing for us. We are bully free here. We have Lethal Papa in the chat that keeps all of these knuckleheads out of that. He walks silently and carries a big stick. So shout out to Lethal Papa for being one of the best mods in the business. Let's get to the outros. And we're going to start first with Steel Rain. Sell your brand, brother. You guys are on the hunt for 1K.
Yeah.
You do an incredible show with Pong Soul Saturday mornings, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. 4+ hours of content, and you guys don't use scripts. You talk from your heart. You wear your heart on your sleeve. Sell it, brother.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say first off, please go ahead and hit that like button while you're still here listening and paying attention. But you can find me, Steel Rain, the T is a 7, Steel Rain. Everywhere that has a search bar, it just makes it really easy just to type that in. Whether it's Xbox, PC, PlayStation, whenever they give me a reason to invest. Or if it's just Living Split Screen or on the Twitter DMs, hit us up. But yes, Living Split Screen is going to be the main place every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern, and 3 p.m. UK time. It's a non-console centric platform, guys. Like, we talk about everything going on with the industry. We take the RTS approach, real-time strategy for those who aren't familiar. I hope you are. But you pull yourself out of the world, you look at the darker crevices of the map, you pull those resources together so we can build up that foundation to reach the 3 billion gamers that Phil Spencer always talks about, man. Again, it was just a great conversation to be had today. Great to be able to talk about Hogwarts and many different facets, no matter how people feel about it. Again, I just get more and more impressed every time that I see more games just coming out just to be great games. Doesn't have to be a movie game, doesn't have to be this, doesn't have to be that. It's just a good game. We're in the age of accessibility. That's exciting to see. And let's see how things continue to play out within the industry, man. And y'all keep y'all heads on straight. Much love. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much for that, brother. And Scalzi TV, thanks again thanks once again for joining us, dropping your RPG knowledge. And of course, I love to hear that you're enjoying Hogwarts as much as you would enjoy a Bethesda game. And we got a big one coming, hopefully sooner than later. It's going to be really hard to see. I know, because of course you're Mr. Bethesda, but as great as Hogwarts is, it has set the stage to what we are expecting from Starfield. Sell your brand, brother. Tell everyone where they can follow you on social media, but more importantly, subscribe to your YouTube channel where you get all of the hottest and sometimes secretive Bethesda news.
Yep, thank you again for inviting me on here. Awesome panel, nice to be on another show with you, Steel Rain. Always great opinions, always great talk. Make sure you follow him, subscribe to everybody, all the awesome people that have been on the show. If you want to check my stuff out, I talk about a lot of Bethesda and RPG stuff over at youtube.com/Scalzi. I just put a video yesterday talking about when I think Starfield will come out and my opinions and all that stuff. You can follow me over on Twitter when it works at Scalzi TV. And lastly, for those who are fans of RPGs and Bethesda games, I am working on a game called The Wayward Realms at Once Lost Games. They're trying to return a lot of the old school in-depth stuff that RPGs used to have. It's going to be a massive open world RPG, so you can check us out at oncelostgames.com as well. Thank you again for bringing me on. Awesome as always.
Yeah, brother. And listen, I cannot wait to get some more info on the game you're working on, because that is pretty dope. And I love the fact that you're working with a team that are all ex-Bethesda guys and gals. That is freaking awesome. So shout out to you for that. And then once again, folks, I want to thank you for supporting the channel, both through your views, through your clicks, through your likes. Of course, a big shout out to all the super chats that come in. Those help out more than you know. Channel membership is a big part of the show. And we are incredibly thankful for all of that support. But before we get out of here, folks, I'm going to close out today's show like I always do with something that I was taught by my dad, who is my hero. He used to tell us all the time, he said, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated, and also doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone, and we'll see you next week on the newest episode of X Vlog Live.